And good evening from Charlotte Motor Speedway. James Brierton with
Scotty Powell.
Scotty Powell in the flesh. We don't get
here. I'm back in North Carolina, baby.
You are. Welcome back to North Carolina. And as your t-shirt might allude to, we are here at Charlotte Motor Speedway for race weekend. Coca-Cola 600 will be on Sunday. We have your complete holiday weekend forecast, whether you're coming here to Concord or traveling to the beach or going someplace else. We will check in shortly to find out the latest on that coastal storm, which is going to be a bit of a doozy.
It is. It's going to cause chaos, not only at the coast, but also inland. We're going to feel the effects of some of that, but I think it's only like 1 day effect for us here in the PD and to the Piedmont, to the foothills. So, but the coastal folks really getting hammered this weekend.
Yes, the Hurricane Center is keeping a close eye on this low while we are not yet in hurricane season, and it may not rise to that level. It is, in fact, a good reminder of how these storms can come off, not only bring us heavy rain, which will impact everybody along the coast and inland, but also a flooding potential.
Yeah, flooding potential, and also a lot of beach hazards like strong surf, strong waves, erosion, coastal flooding. So a lot going on at the coast there, and we're actually feeling some of the effects here with that backdoor front kicking up a little bit of a breeze here tonight. So
it's a little breezy here at Charlotte Motor Speedway. We'll get a latest on that forecast in just a moment. Let's talk NASCAR.
Let's do it.
So here at Charlotte Motor Speedway, race week is underway. As we came in here tonight, we saw all of the fans who are camping with their RVs, both in the infield and around the perimeter of Charlotte Motor Speedway, because things start Friday with the trucks. Is that right?
Friday with the trucks. We have the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series and also the ARCA Menard Series. And I was telling James, it's kind of like, think of it, if you're not too familiar with NASCAR, all these different series, you may be like, what's going on? But think of it like baseball. You know, like how each major league team has a minor league farm system. So like your ARCA is your single A, your truck's a double A, Xfinity, triple A, and then you make it to the big times on Sunday for the Coke 600 and a Cup Series. So the Xfinity cars are right over our right shoulder here.
Just behind our camera.
Truck Series is parked just right over there to the left. So they are here. Qualifying and practice starts tomorrow, and then the truck race is tomorrow night.
That's Friday, right?
Yeah, Friday night, and then the ARCA race as well on Friday night. And then they kind of pack up and go home, and then the Xfinity drivers will have their turn on Saturday, and then they go home, and the Cup Series will be here for the, oh my goodness, I think it's like the 63rd or 64th run-in of the Coca-Cola 600.
Really?
So it is going to be another sellout, James, second year in a row that it's a sold-out crowd here. I know the Speedway officials, I was speaking with them, and they are very excited to have a good crowd on hand. And
there's a couple more ticket holders coming into the airport right now, just flying right on in.
And not only is there racing, but there's like Speed Street, which is a big carnival festival-like atmosphere. Lots of different food options, concerts. Jake Owen, the Doobie Brothers will be in concert. So it's almost just like a big festival atmosphere all weekend here at the Speedway.
And I remember it from uptown Charlotte pre-pandemic, and now it's moved up here to Concord.
Yep.
So US 29 exit on Interstate 85, if you know where Concord Mills is. You mentioned a minute ago making it to the big leagues. I feel like we've made it to the big leagues. I want to prove to you this is not a virtual background. This is, in fact, pit road.
Actually at stall 15.
Stall 15. So I don't know who has this stall on Sunday, but I'm picking them as the winner right now.
James is calling a shot, and actually literally right here where I'm pointing is Victory Lane. So, or Victory Circle, as we were talking. We're like, it's
a circle.
Circle, like, what do you call it?
So fun fact about Victory Circle, I came here a couple of years ago for the Auto Festival. And this was after, do you remember the red Jeep in Myrtle Beach?
Yes, yeah.
That was Florence, or that was
Florence? Yes, it was Florence.
They had it here at the auto show. So in amongst all of the antique cars was the beat up red Jeep. I don't know what's become of it since then.
Yeah, I'm wondering if they had the boat from last year in Myrtle Beach. You know,
there's
that trend of things washing ashore or getting on shore in hurricanes in Myrtle Beach. So
thank you, Myrtle Beach, for continuing to provide us entertainment.
Always providing something during hurricane season.
If you want to join our entertainment as we are streaming live on this Thursday night on the Carolina Weather Group, YouTube and Facebook, we can see your chats as they're coming into us. And if you're rewatching us later on or listening to the audio podcast, feel free to leave a comment wherever you are so we can know what you are most looking forward to for this weekend. Now, we're going to get to a detailed forecast update in just a few minutes, but let's hit upon this. So you hit upon Xfinity's on Saturday. The big race is on Sunday. The big race, they're hoping to get in at 6.
Yes.
Let's talk a little bit about Xfinity. That's now at noon.
Yes. So originally it was scheduled to drop the green flag at 1:00, but that's NASCAR has a policy or an option. If there's weather possible in the area, they have that option with their TV partners, Fox and NBC, that they can bump up the start time an hour. So they've bumped it up to 12:00. Can't really go any earlier than that because it's not in the TV window, which you know all about. So
not my fault.
Yeah, you know, TV world is big money, and so they have already these prepaid shows that they have to show. So, you know, the Xfinity race, I'm going to be honest with you, we'll probably battle rain at some point. But the good thing is if you get halfway through the race, which is a 300 lap race, if you get halfway through it, it can be counted as an official race. So,
okay, because that's about the same time.
Yeah,
that we think the storm and the rain will be arriving.
I'll tell you this: if you're not a NASCAR fan, maybe just a casual viewer, normally when there's rainfall in the forecast and they know they're only racing to halfway, there's a lot of action because they know there's only a half a race to get up front instead of a whole race.
You got to do it all right away.
Yeah, there's no lagging back. You've got to just hit the gas pedal and go as soon as the green flags drop. So it normally means that you may see a few more cautions, few more accidents and things like that when they're truly racing the rain and the race itself. So it also makes like an exciting thing.
So let's assume they get some or all of that race in, then the rain moves in. We're looking at periods of pretty heavy rain at times Saturday night into Sunday. They don't have to throw that green flag until 6 p.m. on Sunday. 6 p.m., yeah. Will the rain be out of here? And if so, what reaction do they have to do here at the course to recover from all that rain?
Yeah, so that's a great question. 6 p.m. is the start time. It looks like right now, we know this is an upper level low, and there's that saying upper level low, weatherman woe, because they're so hard to forecast because it's basically just a storm system that is not in the jet stream. So it's kind of just meandering around doing its own thing. So if all of that moves out, it takes about 2 hours to dry the track. Now, it is going to be kind of cool and damp throughout the weekend, even with the rain not here. So the higher humidity may extend that drying time a couple of more minutes to maybe a half an hour, but normally about an hour and a half to get the track dry. So as long as the rain is out of here and the track's dry, let's say by 3:30 or so, everything should be going on. And also another thing they do here at the Coke 600 is a big presentation to the military for Memorial Day. So they'll have all kinds of military actions going on out here. They'll do like have people rappelling out of Black Hawk helicopters.
Weather permitting.
They'll have like some armory material out here that they'll simulate like them shooting a tank and stuff like that. Okay. So you'll have that action as well, weather, permitting. So a lot of stuff going on that we want to get the track dry as soon as we can so we can get all that in. So.
Well, I know we have some file video from WCNC Charlotte's archive because I feel like some of forecasting is looking ahead and some of forecasting is looking back at the analogs or what has happened before. And I feel like it was 6 months ago somewhere on this show, we said, I know what the weather is going to be for the Coca-Cola 600. It's going to rain because this track is no stranger to heavy rain.
Yeah, it seems like every time NASCAR is in town in Charlotte, there's always going to be rain in the forecast at least one of the days. So the rain is no stranger here to the Speedway. But, if this was the Roval, the road course that they run here in October, they could actually race in the rain because they have rain tires, they have windshield wipers and things like that. But with this being on the oval, they're going at such high speeds that they can't, run 180 miles an hour in a raining. So we have to stop until the rain stops and they get the track dry. But yeah, I mean, rain's always unfortunately been a factor.
I think you were telling me the other night on the phone that the Roval and those races can handle the weather because of the differences you just outlined. But even the ovals are trying to get at least some weather tolerance built in.
Like last week at North Wilkesboro Speedway, the Saturday night event was they had the heat laps for the All-Star race and basically determined the position of where the All-Star drivers would race. Well, there was a light shower that rolled through North Wilkesboro at that time. And they're like, hey, this is an All-Star race. We have these rain tires. We have the cars prepared for rain. Let's see what will happen. We've tested it in controlled circumstances, but let's see what happens when we actually put rain tires on a car and they're racing, and they actually turned out really well. Get this. Yeah. They ran faster in the rain tires than they did on the regular tires there.
Does that mean can they run in the rain tires, not in the rain?
That's a good question. There was some drivers that are actually lobbying for that. Like, hey, let's just run the rain tires. So,
what do the rules permit?
Yeah.
Well, our friend KJ Jacobs, meteorologist at WCNC Charlotte, also looked into some of the weather impacts rain included, but also things like temperature and wind, and a recent segment that they do called Weather IQ, where they make you smarter about the weather around you. And we're lucky tonight to be able to share that segment with you. So here is meteorologist KJ Jacobs with an insight look at how weather impacts races just like this one here in Charlotte.
NASCAR is at the mercy of Mother Nature on race day, with 36 races annually spanning spring, summer, and fall. Former NASCAR driver Jesse Little says it's critical to keep your cool when temperatures spike.
It's grueling in the sense of, trying to stay focused for that long and that kind of environment where things are happening very quickly and the adrenaline's there. You try to do a really good job of hydrating and nourishment.
A temperature breakdown of 3 components of NASCAR: the driver, the car, and the track. The driver can experience temperatures inside the car of 130 to 150 degrees, the car with temperatures of the tires at 200 degrees, and the track temperature can reach 130 degrees. Drivers rely on an air conditioning process through the helmet and cool suits.
It basically will take air that travels around their vehicle on the outside, it'll funnel it through a hose, and that tiny hose will be fed to a NACA duct, we call it, onto our helmet. That has little tiny openings that will blow down on top of the head and kind of just gives you a nice fresh air feeling.
Keeping track of wind direction and track conditions is part of the strategy to win.
With a cloud coming over and covering maybe part of the racetrack, you can feel, physically this track turns 3 and 4 are colder than turns 1 and 2.
Essentially, when you're moving into track position or finding your way around the
Yep.
track, you're searching for better grip.
Absolutely.
And that better grip is an indication that the track is cooler.
Colder, could be colder. The hotter the surface or the hotter the tire, just the more, the less grip the vehicle will have, the more sliding around it's going to do. Sideways, front and back. And then as that sun sets or as that temperature cools off, that's when the track will pick up speed, pick up grip.
Although rain is not ideal for NASCAR, the road courses can handle light rain once the cars are outfitted with rain tires, wipers, and mud flaps. According to NASCAR's weather policy, if inclement weather strikes when the race is at its halfway point, NASCAR will declare the race and a winner. However, if it's just a brief shower, then they'll continue the race after a weather delay. At Charlotte Motor Speedway, I'm meteorologist KJ Jacobs, WCNC Charlotte.
Oh, sorry. We were out here checking out.
Checking out.
That's all we wanted.
So you were telling me, and special thanks to WCNC Charlotte and their Weather IQ story there for meteorologist KJ Jacobs and letting us share that with you. You could check them out on YouTube for more of their weekly series. The turf here behind us is turf, right? It's not grass.
Yeah. So it's actually AstroTurf. No other speedway on the NASCAR circuit has what Charlotte has here. This is actually AstroTurf. Like if it was maybe a football game in an indoor stadium, you see the AstroTurf there. This here at the track does a couple of things. A, it's less maintenance. You don't have to cut the grass. You don't have to paint the grass. But B, it also helps protect the car. So if a car was to spin off the turn 4 here, if it was in the old grass, it would kind of catch that grass and it would damage the car. But here, they just slide through and keep on going. So the AstroTurf is very helpful here for the drivers. And a lot of the drivers are lobbying for other tracks to kind of do this too. So
even in all of the Speedway circuit, all of the different tracks that the Speedway folks own, only Charlotte has this right now.
Only Charlotte has this right now. So a lot of the drivers are wanting this to be replaced with all grass on the circuit. So maybe one day that'll happen. But right now, Charlotte holds the claim to fame that they're the only AstroTurf, or synthetic turf is what the actual name is. I got to get that right. Synthetic turf out there. So
in just a moment, we're going to get a complete look at your holiday weekend forecast, not only here for Charlotte Motor Speedway, but also the beaches of both North Carolina and South Carolina. And then when we come back, we're going to talk to this guy about his outing to North Wilkesboro. More insights from the All-Star race as Carolina Weather Group race weekend coverage continues. But now let's go down to Columbia, South Carolina, where Frank Strait is standing by with a look at what we can expect from the storm this weekend, Frank.
Thanks, Joel. Yes, indeed. It's Memorial Day weekend and a lot happening around the Carolinas. The races in Charlotte, including the 600, as well as Bike Week event in Myrtle Beach, and a lot of people flocking to the coast as well. So let's see what we have to look forward to. Activate screen share time, and we'll begin by looking at the visible satellite picture as the sun starts to set over our fruited plain. And you can see some clouds massing along the east coast here at sunset, the result of a storm system coming together over the southeast coast, that being our developing coastal storm that is going to raise a ruckus over the next couple of days along the Carolina coast. Looking off to the west, you can see some brownish haze there associated with wildfire smoke that originated into western Canada and has drifted all the way into the southeastern states, even down into the northern Gulf of Mexico, too. That is getting pulled to the west now as a cold front pushes in from the north and brings a reinforcing shot of cool air and some actually unseasonably cool air that you're really going to feel on Saturday once we have the rain from our coastal storm move in. So we'll take a quick look at the weather map here. Again, we have high pressure that's centered here over the Great Lakes, looking at the SPC mesoanalysis site. That strong and usually cool area of high pressure has a big difference in pressure between it and our developing coastal storm. So that's why it is windy across the Carolinas now, and that's why the winds are going to pick up as this coastal storm intensifies. The pressures drop there, and pressures remain high to our north, and it's that difference in pressure that fuels the strong winds. So the colder air, cooler air, maybe we should say colder. Wait till Saturday and you'll understand what I mean. Colder air pushes in from the north, and the moisture pushes in from the south. It's going to bring us a rather ugly day coming up for your Saturday. So let's take a look at some computer models here and see how the situation will progress over the next couple of days. And we go through the holiday weekend. We'll start out with Friday morning here. Most of the rain still offshore at this point from our developing coastal storm, and that strong high pressure still centered over Michigan at this point. Gusty winds are, however, picking up, especially along our coast. Rather windy day for your Friday, especially as we go to the afternoon hours as that storm begins to intensify over the warm Gulf Stream waters. Again, as you heard Scotty and James mention earlier in the show, there is some concern that this might become a semi-tropical system, a subtropical hybrid storm. If it did, it would get a name, but right now the National Hurricane Center is only giving that a 10% chance of happening. So as we go through the next, go through the day here, we're looking at Friday evening. Rain by that point should be pushing ashore and the winds becoming strong along the Carolina coastal areas. Friday night, just some howling winds along the coast, especially once you get to the Grand Strand region and up into southeastern North Carolina, maybe getting down into parts of the low country too. The storm's approaching shore here on Saturday, a little slower than we thought over the last couple of days. So it looks as though the ugly weather continues for much of the day here along the coastal areas, and the rain pushes northwestward. And that makes things, again, quite ugly. Not only will it be pouring rain, not only will it be windy, but it'll also be unseasonably chilly, too. And with the rain pushing farther inland, this is midday, not looking so great, as Scotty mentioned earlier, for the Xfinity race in Charlotte there. Hopefully they can get enough laps in to call it an official race, but I'm a little skeptical at this point. We'll see how it goes. But again, heavy rain pushing. You can see a pretty big yellow and red blob there from very intense rainfall going on over southeastern North Carolina. Also, there's some concern later in the day into the evening that the wind might turn on shore. Most of the time, the wind's going to be out of the north, and that does, along with the low astronomical tides we're experiencing with the quarter moon phase, that's limiting our coastal flood potential. But at high tide, there can be some, and if the wind does turn on shore, especially if this becomes this tropical hybrid that we're a little concerned about, that increases the potential for coastal flooding. Maybe we get a little bit of a storm surge out of it. But again, overall, a windy and very raw day. Let's take a look at the high temperatures. This is Friday we're looking at here, and highs mostly in the 70s around the Carolinas, with some 60s across the north and into western North Carolina for your Friday. But then Saturday, look at this, 50s for upstate and South Carolina and parts of the Midlands, a lot of North Carolina, even low to mid 50s, and in the mountains of North Carolina. This is feeling more like late February and early March here. So again, Saturday just looking like a chilly, windy, raw, ugly day. A little warmer along the coast here as that storm moving ashore starts to pull some moisture back in. Now, let's have a look at Saturday night into Sunday. Again, the rain starts to diminish as the storm moves ashore, but this is getting caught by an upper level low here that's forming over the southeast, a combination of a few different weather disturbances coming together. And because it's what we call a Rex block situation with high pressure to the north and low pressure to the south, that results in this thing moving out really slowly. So we keep some showers around for your Sunday. This is Sunday evening we're looking at here. Not a total washout for your Sunday, but a few showers around at night. And then for Monday as well, some more shower activity, according to the GFS, especially over South Carolina. But that is in question at this point. Again, it looks as though, as Scotty mentioned earlier, hopefully this moves out in the afternoon and we can drive the track out at Charlotte for the race in the afternoon. And eventually that moves out to sea. Your high temperatures, looking for Sunday here. We're warming it up thanks to the sun popping out at times, especially along the coastal plain. 70s there, but still cool 60s, and elsewhere, and even some 50s up in the mountains. Monday looks noticeably warmer and actually fairly nice when the showers aren't around, with highs mostly in the 70s and up to around 80. Once we go back to work Tuesday, we start warming up to more typical May and early June readings. All right, that's all for the forecast. Back to y'all, James and Scotty, Charlotte Motor Speedway.
Yeah, thank you, Frank, for that. Very difficult forecast coming up, and I'm telling you, the wind has
picked up in the last 5 minutes since Frank started to talk. It got cooler, and the wind started to pick up. Let's go for a little walk here. Thank you for that forecast update. Back out here at Charlotte Motor Speedway, we are on pit road.
Yes,
this is the place that the race is going to happen this weekend. They've got the place looking great. The paint is nice and fresh. The turf is looking nice until someone interacts with it inevitably.
It's so. Let's go over here.
How far can we go, Scotty?
Well, we can go out here. Come on.
Okay.
So this is, as you can see.
Oh, okay, yeah.
This turf, it's like those little rubber beads are in it, and so that's kind of like the synthetic turf. But all of this is painted out here. But this is like where we're standing at. This will most likely be where you win the race at, because pit crews are so important. You got to get that last pit stop. You got to make it fast so you can get one of the first spots to start off the last race. So pit road's a very important spot. So we're best. A lot of times people say this is where races are won, because they have the fastest pit crew to get you out first ahead of everybody else.
I learned something new here tonight. I'm going to have our photographer, my father, Jim, turn back around where we were earlier in the show. I joked that I thought 15 was going to win here. And Scotty was telling me, because of this gate access and that extra buffer between 15 and 14, it is a prime spot to get. And I learned that by being out here tonight.
Yeah, you don't get, nobody parks there, so you're not blocked in. You think about it as maybe you're on the interstate and you're trying to get into the other lane. It's a standstill, but that other lane's going. Well, normally that car in front of you, you kind of like hesitate. Here, you don't have to hesitate. You can just gas it and go.
Is that how you drive?
No.
How do you think the NASCAR drivers are on 485?
That's a good question. I don't know.
Do you notice I'm still hesitating? I'm still standing at the line.
James is scared. Come on, James.
I'm still hesitating to go. The paint just looks so nice, and I know they definitely don't want that disrupted. Now, this is the second race weekend in a row for you.
Yes.
And for North Carolina.
Yeah. Because
you were at North Wilkesboro last week, which not only was the All-Star race, but also was the grand reopening of that lost track. How was that?
Yeah, that was pretty cool because, I was born in Morganton, so North Wilkesboro, like 45 minutes. I remember my dad always taking me there. The last time there was a race there, I was 4 years old. So I remember hearing the stories. I don't necessarily remember being there, but I remember the stories, my dad and grandpa taking me. So to see that thing really just like come from the dead, because it was just, there were trees growing up, the buildings were collapsing, and a lot of folks in Wilkes County are like, we want the racing back here. And a lot of people say, good luck, it's not going to happen. But with the help of Speedway Motorsports, who owns Charlotte Motor Speedway and several others, Marcus Smith, the president, and Dale Earnhardt Jr., they kind of got together, and there's this thing called iRacing.
That's the virtual. It was real popular during COVID, right?
Yes. So they actually had the iRacing series to fill their TV slot. They're like, hey, we had these races we were supposed to broadcast, so let's iRace. So they went up there and they're like, well, we're going to at least preserve this track. And so they went out there and weed-eat it and all that, so they could scan the track.
Dale Earnhart Jr. went out there and started picking weeds.
Several drivers did, Dale Jr., Eric Jones, several NASCAR drivers, a lot of teams, a lot of folks here at the Speedway went up to do that. They're like, well, at least we can preserve it in the virtual form. And then they got it cleaned out and they're like, well, let's do a test here. And they did a test. And then they're like, well, let's bring one of the lower series here last August. And the crowd just showed up like 20. I think it was like 20,000 people there. And Marcus was like, we got something here. And so
there's magic to be had here.
So from where it was last August to 8 months later to where it was last week, it's just amazing. I mean, it is resto mod is what they were calling it, because they tried to restore as much as they could. There was still a lot of the old signage. You know, we were talking about the Coca-Cola signage.
What was the word they were using?
Resto mod. That's the word. So the
restore and modify.
Yeah, modernized. So
because there was like a Winston Cup series.
Yeah, the Winston Cup series. So they have the old Winston building, but you go inside of it and it's like totally redone. Very nice. So it was really cool to see it. The track was old. I think the last time it was paved was like 1981.
I noticed they left that. Was there a sealant on top?
There was like where there was cracks and stuff, you know, they were able to patch that up, but most of the asphalt there was from like the 1980s and made for a very slick track. So it was overall a really cool experience. So we're hoping that it'll be back in North Wilkesboro in the years to come. I think you know, the community really embraced it. It was sold out. All 3 days were sold out. So really good turnout. So yeah, it was really cool to go there. And, you know, James, you were talking about North Wilkesboro, but the week for that, they were in Darlington, South Carolina. So I kind of call it like the Carolina swing, you know?
It is. And I was going to mention that this is a hometown for a lot of the drivers. A lot of the teams are based here in the greater Charlotte area.
Yeah. So like right off of turn 2 over here, there's several NASCAR shops there behind this building where we're at here on the front stretch. There's several headquarters for teams over at the Concord Airport. Several teams are located over there. So this is like the home track, home base, home field advantage. Everybody brings their family here to the track. All the folks who work on the cars, you know, they don't always get to go out to California or Texas, but they all can come here because they all live here. So it's really that unique, you know what, I helped put that car together. So that brings a lot of folks out here to the track. And you know, this is where NASCAR was born in the Carolinas. So
some of those trailers are arriving for Friday races, Xfinity on Saturday, and the big Cup Series, the Coca-Cola 600 on Sunday, all weather permitting. I know you're going to be keeping an eye on it.
Yeah. So I will be, I know you probably can't see, but there's a little building up there. That's where I'll be throughout this weekend, working with the Speedway Motorsports officials. Tomorrow, the truck race, or Friday, the truck race. Saturday, Xfinity race, and Sunday, the Cup race. I will be up there, and we'll be looking for rain. Thankfully, it doesn't look like we're going to have to deal with lightning, but we would be looking for lightning in most cases, but it's going to be 54 degrees. So thankfully, we don't have to worry. Maybe snow flurries.
Bundle up. It's going to be a little chilly.
Yeah, maybe snow flurries or something. But, you know, and also these gusty winds, you know, we're experiencing now. And, you know, we had to put bags on our lights, but you know, a lot of these teams have canopies and stuff that they store things under, like their pit equipment, a lot of camping out here. So
there's
you got
a lot of camping.
Mindful of that, because you don't want the canopies or the tents and stuff to blow away. So that's something else we'll be paying attention to, is the wind, because you know, you don't want projectiles. We've seen in thunderstorms before, you know, those jumpy houses that are anchored down, a high enough wind gust can take them down, take them up in the sky. So those are just some of the factors that we look at here. And I will say, and I know Frank talked about it and we've joked about it, but don't underestimate how cold it's going to be this weekend, because it is, I would say 30 degrees below where we should be at this time. I mean, we're normally would be out here sweating right now with the heat and humidity. And we're talking about temperatures in the 50s and 60s on Saturday for a high. It's kind of different. It's been kind of a cool spring.
Yeah, if you're listening to our audio podcast tonight, you're probably hearing the wind in the microphone here out at Charlotte Motor Speedway. Well, Scotty, I don't know how you arranged this broadcast tonight, but thank you for doing that.
Yeah, we need to thank those folks up here at Speedway Motorsports. They have been a great supporter of mine. And when I asked a couple of days ago, hey, can we do this? They're like, sure, go do it. So thank you to Doug and to Greg and Marcus and everyone at Speedway Motorsports. We appreciate you guys letting us use your pit lane for the last 35 or 45 minutes. And we've enjoyed doing this.
And hopefully the weather doesn't completely ruin or rain out your weekend, because there will be some breaks.
Yeah, there will be some breaks. Saturday, we'll hope to get as much in as we can. That kind of looks to be the wettest day. But I really think as we get into Sunday afternoon and evening, I think we really start to see things dry out just in time for the big Cup race.
Just in time for the unofficial start to summer.
You want to race down pit road?
You want to race me? All right, Jared, roll those credits. We'll see you back here next week on the Carolina Weather Group.
See ya.
Good night.